This video is a reply to the comment I received a few days ago about the key differences between those two books. The first one is called Mastery by George Leonard and the second one is called Mastery by Robert Greene. I have talked extensively already about the one from George Leonard, so I will start much more with the one from Robert Greene, which is pretty known, famous, and in my opinion they are not really opposed to each other, they are not really key differences, I think they are complementary. But let me elaborate on that. In the book by Robert Greene, he's basically dividing learning into three main phases. The first one is going to be a phase of completely basic reproduction, reproducing what a role model has been doing. In the very beginning, basically you just shut your mouth. You take one role model or one mentor, somebody who has been doing what you want to do, and you silently, without arguing, repeat exactly the same steps. The challenge during that first phase is specifically that, to just suppress completely what you thought you knew so far, because we all come into a new field of expertise with expectations, what we think is true, what we think should be done, but if you don't have experience, you're not yet at the phase where you can argue with anybody in that field. So in the beginning, mouth shut, you just repeat like a dumb machine what somebody else has been doing, somebody who has achieved what you want to achieve. The tricky point, though, is that you can't just repeat blindly when you have found the right mentor or the right role model. And the right role model is not necessarily the one who is the highest ranked in that field, maybe not the most famous person. It doesn't need to be the most famous or the biggest, the person who has achieved the biggest results. If it is like in sports, you don't need to model only Olympic athletes. No need to go that far. It has to be someone with whom you connect. Some mentor or some teacher, or if it is something personal, someone you can speak to face or directly, or just a role model if you can maybe just see that person through videos without having direct interactions. In any case, the best is to have somebody you sense some connection with, either because you have a similar background, because that person just has a way of communicating or a way of presenting the information that you like, you think that person is really on point. Just evaluate between different models, different mentors, until you find one like that is just satisfying that criteria of, do you connect with that person? Would you sense that you could be friends with that person if he or she had been growing up with you? Once you find somebody with whom the answer is yes, just follow blindly what they do. Usually, this phase you will acquire all the fundamentals, all the essential skills, the foundations you need to build up real mastery. This will take around 3 years. It may go a bit faster if you have some sort of talent, maybe, if you were naturally talented, or maybe if you grew up in an environment where your parents were maybe already masters at that thing you are learning. Otherwise, usually it takes around 3 years, maybe a bit less, a bit more, but 3 years until you have really all the foundations completely mastered. You have like the basic, let's say basic intermediate level in something where you have acquired all the essential skills that will allow you to build up your unique perspective on the topic. Then comes phase 2, which is different because you are going to need to cut the roots at this phase with the mentor or the role model you had so far. The thing is, a role model or a mentor is great to give you the most likely approach to succeed at something. And when you start from scratch, when you have never done anything in that field of competence, any kind of technique is going to make you improve in the beginning. If you want to build up muscle mass and you want to follow a bodybuilder's routine, pretty much any kind of bodybuilding schedule will make you get results in the beginning, any of them. Once you get past 3, 4, 5 years, maybe you're going to need to have extremely specific tweaks to still keep improving. It won't be just any type of practice that will make you get results. It will be very specific changes in your routine or in your activity that will make you improving. So the connection with a mentor at this point is less effective, or it will give you less results than in the early beginning, according to Robert Greene, because you are the creative active phase, as he calls it, where you need to create, develop your own model, your own way of doing things, your own philosophy, maybe evaluating why are you doing that, and this philosophy will guide your actions from there, and not anymore the things that somebody else has done. So basically, traditional teachings at this phase are not sufficient anymore. They still help, but they are not sufficient anymore. They are sufficient in the first phase, where you just have to follow blindly step 1 to step 10, whatever, and you will get results down the road. At this phase, the second phase, not necessarily. You may need to be creative, invent. Not just reproduce, but invent. Start inventing your own way of doing things, your own methods. That eventually later you can also teach other people who will in the same way get results with your methods. It is just a phase where you are building your own, let's say, your own personality into the field of skills you are developing. And this phase is also characterized, it might be really frustrating because it is characterized with you feel stuck with something, with a specific problem. You start encountering new challenges you didn't have in the first 3 years of the first phase. New challenges, or like one new specific challenge, and it seems like, or it feels like, no one really has the definite answer for you. It seems like there are general answers that fit most cases, and you feel like you're always in a case that doesn't really obey to any circumstances you have read about or heard about or seen when you read books on the topic, or when you watched videos maybe on that topic. It seems like nothing really fits your specific case. That is a clear signal you are in phase 2, and that is a signal you are at the phase where you need to invent your own thing. It is not anymore about reproduction, it is about creation. So this phase will take about 5 years, or let's say it will be complete after about 5 years. Again, for some people it will be faster, for some people it may take a bit longer. It also depends obviously on how consistent you are throughout the years with that thing. In general, it will take between 4 and 5 years. And then we have the third phase, and then I will come to the connection with the book of George Leonard. The third phase outlined by Robert Greene, which is about full mastery, therefore, that he explains as a higher level intuition, as a higher level intelligence. Basically, you start solving problems you didn't even know you could solve, and it becomes much more intuitive, and you don't need to think anymore to accomplish something great. Or you have new challenges, you encounter new challenging situations you have never encountered before, and you have already solved it without even knowing how, and then you come back home and you reflect on it, like, how the hell did I handle that? How the hell did I put that up? How the hell did I even figure out what to do in that context? Because you are approaching the field of mastery, the level of real mastery, where you won't need to think anymore or have everything outlined and planned. You can just improvise. Improvisation is a big sign of approaching mastery or reaching mastery. It means you don't need to have any guidance anymore. You are the guide. So it starts to get into your identity level. This skill you are developing is not anymore something you do, it is something you are. It starts to become part of who you are, and you don't need to warm up anymore or to memorize, rehearse anything. It is just intuitive, automatic at this point. So the bridge with the book, the other mastery book, is that something Robert Greene doesn't really talk about that much. He touches on it, but doesn't really extensively talk about it, is the factor of resistance. Between those phases and even throughout the journey, you will encounter resistance, which means some feeling of fatigue, a feeling of anxiety, some complaints. You will maybe have more argument with your loved ones or people who maybe didn't believe in you in the beginning or start doubting you, and you may have more conflict with them, or maybe just a tendency to self-sabotage. Maybe you know perfectly well what you need to do, but you're not doing it. Those are the signs of resistance. Our human system just loves homeostasis. It just loves to stay the same. Whenever we are approaching a new big phase, a new big level, a new big improvement, we may sense some of that resistance. So obviously from phase 1 to phase 2 is a big warning sign, or a big warning phase moment where you may encounter that type of resistance. Between phase 2 and phase 3, same thing, you may encounter massive resistance where you feel like nothing of what you do has any sense anymore. It is confusing, it is full of confusion, you don't know anymore where you're going. Those are clearly the signs you are about to reach a big new phase. And in those moments, the most important thing, according to George Leonard, is to take a step back. Slow down, reflect, analyze, notice all the things you have done so far, and all those things you have done, where are they leading you right now? Because that resistance in some context will mean, okay, you have reached the maximum level you needed. Now time to forget about that and move on to another phase of your life. And in some other context, scenarios, it will mean you're really about to get the final level you were expecting. Now is the time to finally get there. It is really a personal question. Is this resistance you are encountering leading you is a sign that you need to keep improving, to keep pushing, or a sign you need to stop and do something else? That's really a personal question, and there is not really any clear answer. It is about you, your life path so far. What have you been doing? What was the reason initially you have started this thing? Is that reason still relevant or not at all? And can you adapt? In any case, when you find yourself in the situation where this thing is really something you need to keep pushing on, it is still relevant to take a step back, analyze, and notice what is the next step for me right now. George Leonard talks about this learning curve that basically you will keep going through plateaus and moments where you improve. I think we can just stick that learning phase throughout the whole process that Robert Greene is outlining, because I think it works like that. Basically, you are going to encounter plateaus and moments where you drastically improve your skills, and it is not really about figuring out, are you too slow or too fast, because you will always be too slow compared to somebody else, and you will always be too fast or way faster compared to somebody else. There is not really any perfect metric measurement to notice if you are going slow or fast. It is only about, do you still have a deeper sense that you are evolving in the right direction? And that is a very personal question. It has to be connected with your deep values in life, with your deep aspirations in life. Is this path you are following still relevant for who you are and who you want to become? Yes, no? Maybe you will just need to take a step back for now and come back to it 1 year from now. It all depends on your specific case. However, if you quit completely and never do anything anymore before reaching the phase of mastery, it may completely ruin all the efforts you made so far. And if you obsessively push because you never want to get any rest, you want to get this thing as fast as possible, it may lead you into burnout and being completely disgusted and never wanting to touch that thing again, whereas it was something you were passionate about. So it's always about taking a step back whenever you sense some resistance and reflecting, what is the next step for me from there. If you like learning about how to learn, specifically how to learn new skills, you have a small document in the description called the Fundamentals of NLP, which is not only about meta learning, it is about many other topics, but you can study it and you can go through it. There will probably be some interesting points you can adapt, you can use for your own life, specifically if you're into NLP, and noticing how you can improve either your mindset about the blockages, the lack of self-confidence maybe, or lack of self-esteem you may have that may prevent you from reaching the things you want to reach, and you can just develop your skills with that.